Welcome to the Business Leaders Legacy Podcast, the show where we go behind the scenes of business leaders to uncover their vision, strategies, and challenges they face along the way. My name is Chris Bruner. I'm the CEO of Simple AI Solutions and the host of today's podcast. I'm excited to have Cristin Smith, founder and CEO of Saffron Sage. Cristin is known for a serial entrepreneur focus on distributing healthcare by combining ancient traditions with modern medicine through Saffron and Sage Clinic. Corporate offerings, including clients like Google and CPG products, all while empowering individuals to explore their well-being. And so, Cristin, thank you for being here. Can you please share with our listeners a little bit about you, your journey, and what Saffron and Sage is all about?
Sure, Chris, and thanks for having me. Excited to chat with you this morning. Well, let's see. I think the easiest place to begin is with my story. My background's actually in insurance and financial services, and I was what ended up being the tail end of my time in that space. I was transitioning out. I sold my half of my business to my business partner, and moved to Mexico for a 6 month sabbatical. And a couple months into that sabbatical, doctors found four tumors rapidly growing in my neck and my thyroid. I was in my mid-20s and, never had even broken a bone, and so, when this, surfaced, it was really alarming, it was really, terrifying, actually, and, went and got a second, third, fourth opinion, and the consensus was the same. We have no idea what the root cause was. However, we recommend that you surgically remove them, and as a result, you're gonna be, dependent on pharmaceutical drugs for the rest of your life, and you might have challenges with your weight and obviously hormone balancing and all sorts of other things because our endocrine system is so vital to our overall well-being. And so, my big red flag with all these doctors in the mainstream medical space, you were talking about your background starting out with Kaiser in the medical space. That's where I grew up, on Kaiser. And so it was just so alarming that they had no idea what the root was, but they were willing to take such drastic measures of surgical and pharmaceutical intervention. And so that's when I really just started reading and researching and had to take things into my own hands. And so I ended up pulling together a team of doctors and providers from LA to Tijuana and everywhere in between. And so it took me about a year to assemble this integrative medical team. And through a whole host of different types of testing, functional blood work, stool testing, all sorts of different things, were able to come to the conclusion of what was contributing to not just the tumors, but the other symptoms that went along with it. And so it was really a risky decision to kind of go off the reservation, so to speak, and start gambling because as much as these providers were all rooted in evidence-based practices and were all licensed and leaders in their field, none of them were talking to each other. So still, it was this siloed care model, and I was the one in the middle as kind of the spoke holding all of these things together. And so that began the dream, right? Like, and really to question, why don't spaces like this exist? Why isn't there an integrative model where Eastern and Western doctors are sitting at the same table? We're bringing in tried and true ancient modalities, right? That come from traditional Chinese medicine, that come from Ayurveda. And how come we're not marrying these and really bringing testing and treatment under one roof? And so fast forward a handful of years, we opened our flagship location in downtown San Diego in Mission Hills. And this September, we'll celebrate our 9-year anniversary.
Yeah, that is awesome. That's like so awesome to hear just how you like first hats off to going through something so difficult, and so scary with your health, but being able to take that as like the fuel behind I'm going to, want to fix something and bring something that will bring, you know, hopefully help other people, and to bring that style and to kind of recreate, bring something so new into it. It's so awesome, so cool. And I could hear the passion behind it and all that stuff. And so that's really interesting, really cool to hear. And so I'm wondering, Saffron and Sage operates across, multiple verticals, right? The healthcare clinic, the corporate offerings, and the CPG products. Can you explain how these different parts work together to support your mission?
Yes, absolutely. So, our clinic, we've got about 6,000 square feet in Mission Hills, and inside that space is our clinic where our members come in and they're getting their blood drawn by one of the doctors or one of the nurses. They're coming in for acupuncture treatments, breath work. We're doing all of the um integrative physicals on site, body work, you name it. So all of these bio individualistic therapies are being provided on site. And it's a very beautiful therapeutic space. We've been winning top spa awards since the day that we opened. So people are always trying to ask, are you a spa? Are you a wellness center? Are you a medical clinic? And it's like, yes, to all of the above. And inside our space, we have a pharmacy. And so our pharmacy is dispensing herbal formulas that we are customizing for each and every single one of our patients. And so the philosophy around products is really supportive to enhancing the treatments and therapy. So if I come in and get an acupuncture session today, and let's say I'm working on conception, right? I'm coming in for part of my fertility planning. Those herbal formulas are going to help work on the different systems and nourishing and supporting the organs so that I can achieve that goal of conception, right? And so it really it acts as an enhancement to those treatments. Same thing, our proprietary skincare line. This was developed by our chief science officer before he retired in conjunction with myself. And we had a lot of patients that say, "Hey, you guys tell us all the time to, ditch our toxic beauty products and body products, how it's really taxing our endocrine system. And, when you're doing our toxicity testing, you're finding all of these different things in it that we've got to reduce our toxic load and reduce this exposure. But you're not selling any skincare products in your boutique to help us with that." And we said, well, this is now what, I don't know, 7 years ago or so, to say, oh, there's really nothing that amazing, on the market that we can find that we really want to put our name behind and recommend. And so it was really at the request of our members and our patients to either go find something or create it. And so we opted to create it. And so we have an entire skincare collection that is designed to treat and support the skin. And so whether it's patient that is dealing with fine lines and wrinkles, dealing with melasma, with acne. It's really the foundational skincare line. There's not, 30 different products. We don't believe in trying to sell you a special serum for every day of the week or every little thing. It's really looking at what's foundational and what's essential. And I think we've really gotten away from that in the beauty industry. And so those all of those products are actually made on site in our clean room, and so it's all a small batch production. And so when you talk about locally made, and you talk about CPG, that's our contribution to that space. And so not only are we retailing those in our boutique, but we sell them online. We're sold in a handful of different boutiques around the country and spas that not only sell them in their boutiques, but are actually using them in their back bar. So when you come in for skincare treatments and are working with any of our nurses or doctors or skincare professionals, we're actually using our products on your skin when you come in. So there's two examples of how we've opened up another vertical with CPG. And so it really adds another dimension to the clinical outcomes that we're seeking to support our patients. And it adds a sustainable line of revenue for the business as a whole.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. It's super interesting to hear how that is a great strategy to go around just to, as growth and as you expand and also just like the impact that you can make, and being able to reach more people and have an impact that can really help rather than just, like you had said, just like the Western medicine of like here's a pill for your problem and just, that which it works in some sense, but there's often a lot of times where it doesn't. It's not, sometimes it just, affects, it takes care of the symptom and not, the actual solution, the root cause. And so, yeah, no, that's really interesting. It's really cool to see how the impact that you guys are having and yeah, so cool, and I wanted to know, are there any like specific, trends or technologies that you're seeing in the holistic healthcare wellness, any that type of industry? Are you seeing anything, anything new coming up in regards of trends?
Yeah, I love that question and I hate that question at the same time. And one of the things that I hate about being asked about trends is we're always looking for something new, right? We're always looking for a different solution, like GLP-1s are really sexy, really popular right now. Been the talk of the town the last couple of years. And we're looking for something new because often we don't want to talk about nutrition. We don't want to talk about exercise and we don't want to talk about managing our stress response and supporting our hormones. And so I think these trends end up being a scapegoat for something easier to implement. And so I think there are tons of trends, and I will say one of the trends that I think is a positive one is peptide therapy. We've been administering peptide therapy with our patients for oh boy, the last 5 plus years, and I think, that is a trend, that, is here to stay, and I think it's something that if you are not already working, with your concierge medicine team and talking to your, naturopathic doctor, talking to your functional medicine doctors about peptide therapy and how to stack peptides to best support, your performance and your optimal well-being, you really wanna get in with a doctor-directed, clinic that can help you do that. I think that's we're seeing so many incredible results, with peptide therapy. So,
Yeah,
getting in
that
and really looking for I know with AI, there's a lot of, positives, and there's always some drawbacks with trends and technology, right? And one of the trends I think we see in the healthcare space is a lot of telehealth, companies coming up to really distribute a lot of these GLPs, a lot of these peptides. And so I would say, and even with testing, we see a lot of different telehealth that's here to do more advanced testing than your primary would do. And while that's a step in the right direction, I would really encourage leaders in the community to look for a space that's actually brick and mortar, that's in your community, that's not powered by VCs or private equity, but is actually owned by local doctors and local providers that are going to be able to support you in a really comprehensive capacity.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. There's a lot to unpack there. Because yeah, I think I totally agree. I feel like I've seen more and more with peptides coming up and it really is interesting to see the impact. I know I've had family members, there's the GLP-1s that help with like, weight and this and that, but like there's so much out there. There's so many different types of peptides that can help with so many different things and I've definitely had family members that it's made a huge impact in their life by using them and obviously doing it the right way, right? Coming to a doctor, getting advice, and doing it like you had mentioned, and so that's really cool, really interesting. I did want to transition a little bit and talk about just like the business side of things, and so within your business, what are some things that are working really well right now?
Well, I'll tell you what, we just launched a new marketing campaign about a month ago, and we are drowning in leads right now. And so this is a great problem to have. And I would say this new marketing strategy, specifically on LinkedIn, we've been a little late to the space as far as engaging with the community of professionals on LinkedIn. And it's so surprising, actually. I'm pleasantly surprised to see the power of these AI tools and how they can more quickly build bridges and foster connections. And so, once that initial connection is made, we're then getting in there and actually building relationships and talking to executives and entrepreneurs and leaders like yourself in the community to say, how can we support you? What are you, wrestling with? And obviously, as entrepreneurs, our biggest asset is time, right? And so it's not about the cost of these modalities and investing in your health. It's really about, how do I carve out and invest the time both at home and to get these treatments to really move the needle. And so I would say, man, I mean, we're devoting 8 hours a day to building relationships from these leads that are coming in, and we can't even get through them all. So I would say that's definitely something that's working well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's really cool. That is, like you said, that is a great problem to have. And so that's really cool. Very interesting. I'm wondering on the flip side of that, which maybe it leads into this also, but like what every business faces challenges. What's a challenge you guys are facing, and how are you navigating it? What are you learning from it? If you don't mind sharing.
Yeah. Well, a couple come to mind. One, we've had supply chain issues for about, I don't know, the last 6 years or so with medical supplies. And this is something that is a big challenge industry wide. We have a handful of supplies that come from out of state. And we're getting shipments from places like Florida. When you have hurricanes come through, we're getting delays on shipments. So that's a challenge. Another issue is really the systemic issue in healthcare right now. And so you have, the powers that be, the pharmaceutical industry and the current healthcare system that want to keep medicine contained in our current models and in our current systems. And so in California specifically, we've had a lot of pushback with the pharmacy board, and in general, if you get into circles talking to clinics about peptide therapy, we have a lot of resistance from the mainstream medical powers that want to keep us from being able to distribute these peptides, right? So there's a lot that happens behind the scenes from a policy perspective. There's a lot that happens from a distribution perspective, and so that trickle down effect really impacts us being able to deliver these incredible therapies to our patients. And so that's the stuff behind the scenes of all the pretty marketing that you see
Yeah.
online
Yeah.
that we're dealing with from an operational perspective to make sure that we can have access to these products and be able to distribute them.
Yeah, no, and that totally makes sense. There's definitely a lot to unpack there. Also, I have a friend who has a peptide business, and he's doing this and that, and like I'm hearing him talk about challenges and this and that, and there is a lot. There's a lot that goes into there, and a lot that to juggle, and yeah, no, it's really interesting. To touch on, like, you'd said, just with um, you know, just having as shipments come through from the other side of the country and this and that, like, in the healthcare field where I've been involved within the last handful of years, like I've seen it too, where even at big facilities, like I've worked at Kaiser, like I'd mentioned, where it's a huge healthcare operation, and there's still supply chain issues
Yes.
that come through where it's like, oh, we don't have this, and we just gotta make do and figure it out. And yeah, no, it's really interesting. It's definitely, I think COVID has, going through that pandemic and all the stuff through that season has definitely brought up a lot of these like challenges, and it's interesting. But yeah, it's definitely something to navigate. And so I did want to ask though and think about like the future. Like when you think about the next like 6 months to a year, where do you see yourself in your business? What does that like next level of growth look like for you guys?
Wow. Well, that's a big question. We could be all here all day if we're going to unpack that. I would say one big project I've been working on that I'm excited to see come to fruition before the end of the year is working with a San Diego employer that is self funded. And so when we talk about we're a cash pay practice, right? So we don't accept insurance. We are providing super bills for our patients who are paying, with their HSA card or just paying with their credit card, right? And that really niches us down to a specific patient population to be working with, right? On the other side, you talked earlier about revenue streams and you talked about the corporate offerings that we do. My big dream has always been to build relationships with the corporations, and large and small. You mentioned our work with Google and Intuit. And so there's a lot of different ways that we work with companies. And so anything from one off wellness experiences, team building, things like this, to actually the employers paying to provide care to their staff, whether that's on a reward basis because they're the top performer, whether that's on a work anniversary or a birthday. But then the other dimension is actually providing access to preventative and integrative healthcare services. And so, in smaller businesses like yourself, we've got about 20 employees, right? So we provide health insurance to our employees. Well, when you are a large employer, instead of paying a traditional, health insurance premium, they're negotiating directly with the hospitals like the Kaiser so that they can then pay for those services for their employees. And so we've been in conversations with a couple of organizations about redirecting some of those funds to see how they can start investing those resources on behalf of their employees to reduce their expenditures both in present time but over the next 5, 10, 20 years. And so I think when it comes to health and wellness and corporate offerings, we get stuck in this box of talking about, well, that's an HR thing, that's about attracting and retaining top talent, and that's about culture building. And it can be, but it's also a cost savings tool, right? It's reducing sick days, mental health days. It's increasing the resilience and increasing the productivity and therefore profitability. So if we can invest in these healthcare strategies for your employees that are going to reduce your, monthly out-of-pocket expenditures, they're going to reduce attrition, and they're going to increase productivity and profitability, why not? And so we're really excited that we've been spending time talking to the CFOs, talking to the health funds, board members and things like that to redirect these funds and help them think outside the box and think differently about healthcare expenditures and how they can move the needle and really reduce their outlay by investing in a different type of healthcare.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. It's exciting to hear just how that's in the works and getting created and making those conversations and how that's coming to fruition. That's really exciting. That's cool.
Thanks.
And to as we are coming to an end of the podcast episode and all this stuff, I did want to leave some room for people to just stay connected with what you have going on, and so I'm wondering, are you able to share, just where people can find you, hear about your services, your business, yeah, and just stay connected.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you're on Instagram, you can find us at Saffron and Sage. San Diego. LinkedIn, you can type in Saffron and Sage, and come down and just pop in, grab a tour of our, one of our concierges would love to give you a tour of our space. And we can also set you up with a complimentary 15-minute discovery call, just to better share who we are and what we do, and get to know you and how we might be able to support you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. To close, I would like to ask one last question since this is the Business Leaders Legacy podcast. You being a business leader, the founder of Saffron and Sage, can you please share what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Oh, another big question. What type of legacy? You know, I think the legacy that I want to leave behind is really about um, bridging these ancient modalities with modern medicine, in a way that helps leaders reclaim their well-being, and it being the fuel of what really sustains their relationships and propels them forward in their business success. Because if we don't have our health, we can't show up and do what we do every day. And so, the legacy is being the support system to these incredible entrepreneurs here in San Diego. And I think it's really about um, that very personalized bio individualistic care. That's really the dream of what I want to leave behind.
Yeah, that is awesome. That's really cool. Well, it's definitely super cool to hear how you're making an impact in the community and an impact for so many people. And so, thank you again, Kristen. I really appreciate you sharing about your business, about what you're doing. And yeah, for anyone in San Diego, go and check it out. That's awesome. To all the listeners out there, thank you guys for tuning in. If you enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe, share, like. We appreciate it. Thank you again, Kristen.
Thank you, Chris.